and we'll do all of the questions first for the entire 5 chapters, and then we'll get to the problems. Once I start whacking away on the board, I don't want to stop. So. Questions. What questions are on there what questions are on there that give you trouble? Hopefully very few at this point, but did you like to chat about?
We're not worrying about beta this test, right?
No, remember I said that there's some things that crisscross here. I didn't realize there was a beta question on there. Good point. Yeah, I sent you 2 tests because the one of them did not, at least I don't think it had the cost of capital stuff on it. So, but thank you for noticing that. Hey, we've seen that before. What questions are on there that you might want to talk about? All of them? Then start reading me your questions. What's the first one you want to talk about?
Why are replacement projects more complicated from a financial standpoint than expansion projects more complicated from an operational standpoint?
Somebody help me here. Okay. Yeah, expansion projects, from a finance point of view, are pretty straightforward, right? I don't have any old machine to sell or any of that stuff, like I do with a replacement project. So from a financial point of view, you know, the actual workings of an expansion project are pretty straightforward. You know, I'm not worried about selling old machinery or doing anything like that. But from an operations point of view, expansion projects are anything but straightforward relative to replacement projects. Why? I mean, just look at the two we looked at. You got the yogurt gym example, which is an expansion, and you got the drill press at Briggs & Stratton, which is a replacement project. From a financial point of view, remember, it took us no time at all to do the gym, right? I mean, again, net investment, piece of cake, 3 numbers, I think. You know, the only thing that was a little bit screwy with the yogurt gym thing was that net working capital, but we can handle that. But remember, the net investment was fairly complicated for the Briggs & Stratton thing, because we had an old machine to get rid of, blah, 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 blah. So do you understand that from a finance point of view, expansion projects are relatively straightforward? Why operational was the Briggs & Stratton project a whole lot less difficult than the yogurt thing? A whole lot less concerning. Louder.
You already know how it
Hey,
operates.
baby, I've been drilling holes at Briggs & Stratton for years. I know what a drill press is. I know how to do it. My engineers have actually studied this new drill press. They're giving me cycle times. They're giving me everything I need. There is very little guesswork at Briggs & Stratton when I'm replacing one drill press with another. What about the yogurt gym thing? Do the people at the yogurt shop really know that this gym is going to be successful? They could spend $62,000 and find out that they not only don't have a viable gym, but they just killed the yogurt business because they're out of money. Okay, operationally, expansion projects are fairly risky because by definition you're getting into something you did not do before. Now, are there some expansion projects that are less risky than others? And the answer is yes. I mean, if you're Pfizer, we'll go back to the Viagra thing, and you're trying to expand the ability to produce Viagra, that is not that risky because everybody figured out very quickly the market for that drug was dramatically greater than they thought it would be. But still, you're expanding your company, you're hiring people, you're stretching your management, you're doing all kinds of stuff that could bring risk to the firm. I can remember years ago, Bank One had an advertisement that said, you know, started out 8,000 people who cared. Any of you remember that ad? Because many of you might, because Bank One at that point was headquartered in Chicago, or in Columbus. And then it was, you know, almost 2 minutes later, it seemed they'd acquired another bank. Now there are 10,000 people who cared. And then there were 13,000 people who cared. I kept thinking to myself, not all 3,000 of those new people care. And not all 3,000 of those new people are necessarily that competent, but you depend on them because you're growing like a bad weed here. I mean, you know, they were expanding right into the banking industry, no big deal. They were a bank, right? But it's still fraught with problems, you know, technically, and possible. You know, you can outgrow your ability to manage that growth, right? You guys have heard the phrase about the military outrunning its supply lines. I know Jason knows that well. The same thing can happen here. You can outrun your cash, and you can outrun your ability to do the job that you need to do. And it's particularly a problem in a bank because it's basically a service industry. So, but anyhow, what's the next one? Everybody okay with that? We good? Don't let me move too quickly. What's the next one?
We already went over it, but it's what are the primary problems with the internal rate of return and how should they be dealt with?
Okay. What are the primary problems? We really talked about 2 biggies. What are they? Louder?
You need
Big fat liar, what's the other one?
multiple.
Okay, get multiple internal rates of return. When do you get multiple internal rates of return? Maybe.
Your sign changes.
In what?
Cash flow.
Thank you, okay? If you, I think I probably mentioned this, Patrick, you just tell me, hey, every time you get a sign change, you can get a new internal rate of return. Nothing for that, okay? You have to tell me where the sign changes are. And we talked about some of the projects, right, that you might encounter in this very state.
Can you repeat that?
Sure.
The-
Which part?
What you want to get?
Okay, well, if you're gonna tell me that you've got problems with multiple internal rates of return, and you could, every time you have a change in a cash flow, you can have another internal rate of return. You may not, but you can, okay? So if you've got two sign changes, you could conceivably have two internal rates of return. And if you've got a calculator that'll compute internal rates of return, it'll pop them both up for you. It's not a big deal. The minute you see a second internal rate of return, what do? Well, you know one thing for sure. If you got two of them, they're what? They're both wrong. They're useless, okay? But you do then, when you see that, what you should have done before, and that's what? Use the net present value, yeah. That's the solution, okay, is you use the net present value because it will not, it just doesn't have any of these problems. And we didn't specifically talk about this, but some of you may know. The net present value, if appropriately computed, is actually the increment to shareholder wealth that you will realize as a result of taking on that project. So if you got a project with a $10 million net present value, and again, you've done all your estimates flawlessly, and I can't get the smile off my face when I say that, then the firm's value will have gone up by $10 million as a result of having taken that project. Not a big deal, not something we typically do talk about because we can't get the smile off our face when we say, if you've done the cash flow estimates perfectly. But technically, that's what the model shows us. Okay, so the net present value is just so clearly superior to any other project evaluation methodology that, as I told you before, I hope that you go forth from here and teach the world how to use this thing of your organization.